Okay, so this is an impromptu video. I had a night vision. I call it a night vision because it's different than just a dream, in that sometimes there's a portion of it where I'm awake and then go back into the same dream. This time I was even able to ask the Lord a question and receive an answer, and I told him I wanted to know more. I went back to sleep. So this was night before last, on the 2nd, on February 2nd, 2026. I had this night vision, and there was so much information in it, but it wasn't like apparently clear. He had so many details that I spent the better part of today researching and praying about it and digging in the word. And there was a natural phenomenon that happened yesterday as I wrote it down. So while I was sleeping, when I had like a twilight moment, he said, write it down. I said, but I want to know more. I'm interested. I need more information. And so I had gone back to sleep and continued the dream a bit further. And even while I was awake, I could see into the dream. I was still there. There was no exit from the dream, whether I was awake or speaking to him or not. Anyway, so I wake up and he tells me, write it down. So I wrote it down, and as I was writing it down, I could audibly hear a clock, like a tower clock, chiming. And I've been where I am for a little over a year. I don't hear a clock here. I don't know where a clock is. I'm kind of out, away from town. And so if there's one nearby, I have no idea. I don't hear it all the time. But it started at 9 o'clock, and I heard the 9 o'clock. I heard the 9:15, the 9:30, and the 9:45. And then the 10 o'clock was very faint. It was like far away. Come today, and I went back in after my morning call to do some study and look at this, because it was on my mind, and I felt pulled into really digging into what the Lord was saying. And again, it's funny because I didn't look at my clock and I wasn't planning what time or anything. I'm in the same place in the dream, studying, looking at the same portion of the dream. At 9 o'clock, the clock goes off again. 9:15, 9:30. I make a note as I'm writing it down. I made note today as I was studying. I would make a note every time I would hear the clock, and it went to 10:15 today. It was loud, the 10 o'clock today, and it went to 10:15. I'm trying to think. I don't think it went any further than that. But anyway, I can't even, there's no way that I can get into all of these details. I could also hear a noise, almost like work, but it almost sounded like war off in the distance, like ta 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 ta. And I thought at first, this was the first day that I recorded it, it almost sounded like hammering, but at first I thought, well, if there was a war nearby, I would know, oh, well, they're shooting over there. I know what guns sound like, but these were different kinds of guns. Like, it was like ta 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 ta, and it was going on. When the clock stopped, I no longer heard the sound of whatever that was. I don't know, but the Lord has been saying so much lately. It's coming, it's coming, it's coming. And he brought that back to mind as I was really digging in and studying. So there were too many details, like I said, too many details for me to go into all of this, because it wouldn't even make sense unless I showed you the trail I had to follow in the word and with the times and everything. I'm going to tell you to read Judges chapter 9 and 10. And even I read part of 11, but Judges chapter 9 and 10. But I'm going to read you my synopsis, and just this is what I've come to at the end of all of this prayer and study. I feel like there may be more to still be revealed, but I wanted to wait until tomorrow and get more thoughts together, and I wanted to rest because my mind was just tired, and the Lord was like, don't go to sleep. I said, okay. So I just kept thinking. I laid there and just kept thinking, and he's just talking to me. He's talking to me. And I realized he's talking to you, and I can't wait until tomorrow. So I don't want you to be, concerned that this is just a gloom and doom sort of thing. Part of it is very much a warning, and part of it is I believe a promise. It's a good thing. So hang with me and just watch till the end, please, because I'm going to break this down the best that I can. But I want to give you the analysis. So as I walked through it, and I broke it down into sections of what happened, and as I reflected on those things, I would hear a word for a lot of these areas. And so I'm going to give you the words that he gave me, and then I will give you my thoughts. Okay, so I heard systems, pretense, destruction, kingly oaks, and both days when I was pondering the trees that were in this vision, it was 9 o'clock and the chime rang, and 9 o'clock was really significant. And it led me to the scriptures that I've given you, and to each of the scriptures that I read, like Judges 9:9 and Judges 9:15 and 9:30. And I know it sounds interesting, but let me get it to you this way. Systems of pretense will come to destruction by the judgment of God. Now, before I read further, thank you, Holy Spirit. Just give me the words that you want me to speak, Lord. I want it to be your words and not mine. So there are things that have been created by man that are intended to harm mankind. And this is the plan of the enemy. But we see in Scripture that oftentimes what evil men plot to do turns against them. It's used against them, and their destruction comes about by way of what they thought was going to hurt someone else. We see this with like Haman, in the book of Esther, and we see this with Abimelech in Judges here, where we're at now, and over and over and over, So there have been systems that have been set up, and I'm not even going to quantify whether or not these are just worldly systems or some systems that have been integrated into the church, because I believe that there's a wide array of things, and he's not given me specifics. But something that was created by man came against them in this dream, and God used it. It was God who used it to destroy it, and he moved his people through this thing to destroy the work of the enemy that was false. It was a false like a false creation. But there were oaks of righteousness. I'm sorry that my phone is trying to die. There were oaks of righteousness that were moved, and they were used to destroy this system. And he's told me several months ago, systems will fall. And he's going to use his people to take down some of these systems, but also then to turn around and to extend salvation to those who have been deceived. So we can't turn a hard heart to those people who have been deceived. Some of them, they have no idea what they've done. Okay. Anyway, the hand of God will use the righteous to both tear down the false systems and to reach out to offer salvation to those who have been deceived. Deliverance may be easier. There was a point in this dream where I was able to save someone from something that I shouldn't have been able to save them from naturally, and it was very easy for me. So I believe that we've already begun to see that deliverance in this this new amazing move of God, that deliverance may be easier for those who have eyes to see and ears to hear. What else? Well, things may shift quickly, but the righteous will continue to warn of the coming days of judgment, and some will hear and take cover in him. We cannot stop warning that God's judgment is coming. And I know that that is not a popular thing for those who only want the tickle your ears gospel. But the Bible warns us that that will lead to destruction. We can't just want things that tickle our ears. We're past the time of allowing that to sustain anyone. That's not going to do it. And if we don't warn people of the difficulties, then when they come, they're going to be distraught, and they'll fall because they think everything is supposed to be bubble gum and raindrops and rainbows and all kinds of no. God does keep us, and he does sustain us, and he is our deliverer, and he does do that. But it doesn't mean that there are not difficult things around us. It does not mean that we never go through something hard. Some will come back to what was offered to them previously. Keep praying. So in the dream, there was someone that I have continued to pray for that was in my past. And I had an object in my hand that I now see apparently represented authority, revelation, and praise. And they came back and they took that from me. Even though it was damaged, they took it from me. And so that was my indication that I believe that the prodigals are coming in. He's been saying that, but, just keep praying. Don't give up. Be prepared. Stay in the word. So one of my items that I grabbed when I was preparing to leave was a cross body bag, and there was what I believe to be a Bible. It looked like was in it, and that was about all that was in it. But stay prepared. Be in the word. The princess, which I think there was someone whose name in this dream means princess or noble woman. I think it is the bride of Christ. The remnant is not ready to go. He said the princess is not ready to go. There is still preparation needed. So we've got to put down some old things, and we've got to pick up the things that he has for this season. We've got to go back to the basics. We've got to go back to the true, unfiltered gospel and dig in and be prepared. I couldn't find my keys in this dream. I couldn't find my keys, but I think it's so strange because he had me write a book on the keys of the kingdom. And those are going back to the basics, going back to being discipled well, having relationship with him, understanding who you are, walking in the authority he gives you, and living a life that is holy unto the Lord. And so, if we do not have these keys, we will not be prepared for our mode of ministry. And that was another thing, is the mode of ministry may change. It may look different. So something that you did in the past may not be what you do right now. And the way that he moves may start to look much different. I went outside in this dream at one point and I couldn't find my car. I couldn't recognize. All the cars looked so much alike. I couldn't tell which one was mine. And I just was looking like, God, what do you want me to do? But I couldn't move forward in the mode until I hear from him, and I have to have my keys. And so he's saying we have to have our keys. We have to be prepared, and we have to watch and listen and not turn without him. He's been saying this over and over and over, but this dream was just so unusual. It was really unusual. So Be sure that we have the keys of the kingdom and avoid chaos and confusion. Leave behind the idols. That was a big one. If you'll read there in Judges, I think it's in chapter 11, maybe, where they realize that they have sinned and they've fallen back into idolatry. And all throughout the word, we see that whenever they fall into idolatry, whenever they fall into the things around them, they submit to the ways of the world around them, and they leave their focus of God, and they don't do the things that God says. That what happens is there's destruction. There's something that happens that is devastating, and then they have to come back and focus on the Lord. Well, he says to watch. Don't change course without his word. Watch and listen. Be prepared. But listen. I saw events in this dream, and I believe that they are natural events that will have a spiritual beginning, but there are natural events coming. There are systems that will fall, systems that are false, and God is going to use his people to do amazing, wonderful things. But we need to be prepared. We've got to have the keys. We've got to be established in his word, in relationship with him, and we've got to be seeking him. We need to listen to know where to go and what to do. Don't move without him. But I saw great storms. I saw a tsunami. These storms were not natural. And I do believe that those things that man has been doing, even with weather, will come back to them in judgment. So, please be in prayer. Please know that God is a good God. He is a good daddy, and he warns us, and he gives us all the tools that we need. All the tools that you need are in your word, and it is in your prayer closet in time with him, and he will speak to you. He will give you the information that you need. He will warn you of the things that you need to be aware of, but you've got to have a relationship with him. And he would not let me wait until tomorrow to tell you this. So I love you, and I bless you, and I pray that he will open your ears, that you have eyes to see and ears to hear, and that you'll have a new revelation of who he is and who you are in him, and that your faith will grow. Okay? I love you. More later. Bye.